Shall we start? Hello, Danubian people. Welcome to the third webinar on new funding within the Danube Region Program 2021-2027. Today's topic is climate change adaptation and disaster management. And it is my great pleasure to present my colleague, Gustav Csomor, Project Officer in charge of this topic. My name is Mirena Vidanovic. I'm a Communication Officer and I will be moderating this session. So, if we want to contribute to mitigating the effects of climate change, and you have an idea, there's no better place than this online community where to be today. So welcome, and Gusti, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I also welcome all interested participants on our webinar today. In a few seconds, I try to share my presentation. So, as it was mentioned, today's topic is related to climate change adaptation and disaster management, which is one specific objective of the new Danube Region Program. In my presentation, briefly, I will introduce you what transnational cooperation is meant, some characteristics of the Danube region, what is the related thematic challenge and need that is identified in connection to the development of the or elaboration of the Danube Region Program, as well as what type of activities within this specific objective of the new program can be found, and in which field interested actors can participate and cooperate together. So, transnational.
Excuse me, Gusti, for interruption. Excuse me, we have a raised hand. Maybe we have some technical difficulties. Just a second. So, Mr. Günther, if you want to say something, you can say it. Yeah, it seems it was a mistake. Okay, sorry.
Is everything quiet?
I can hear you and see you clearly.
Okay, then we go on with the presentation. So, transnational cooperation is a sort of instrument, one of the instruments of the EU cohesion policy within the territorial cooperation aspect that is intend to support in financial terms cooperations beyond national level and even beyond cross-border areas. Transnational cooperation is addressing a geographical defined area. There are several such areas around or within the European Union, and also some include parts of neighboring and accession countries beyond the EU itself. And these cooperations intend to address common needs and challenges of the respective broader territories. And with this, they intend to complement the national level, nationally coordinated mainstream programs. Such cooperations are expected to bring together policymakers, the academia, research, civil society, and private actors. And with this cross-sectorial and horizontal and vertical cooperation try to find solutions for the certain issues and challenges that are addressed. The Danube region, as it was identified by the territorial analysis of the new program, it can be considered as a region of barriers. The Danube region within the EU and among the transnational cooperation programs has the highest number of countries and accordingly the highest number of borders. This broad 14-country covered area is quite heterogeneous and diverse in terms of natural environment, socioeconomic and cultural characteristics, as well as, among others, due to the high number of countries, of course, highly fragmented in political and administrative terms as well. The EU measures intend to ensure a stronger cohesion within this with accession and neighborhood policies as well, since the Danube region is not only covering EU member states, but there are several non-EU countries included in this broad space, which provides a unique situation and a possibility for a better integration in this space. The specific objective that we are presenting you today is focusing on promotion of climate change adaptation capacities in the Danube region and disaster management on transnational level in relation to environmental risks, taking into account ecosystem-based approaches. This is the proper title of the specific objective. So let's see what are in detail is covered in this objective. Related territorial needs and challenges can be identified so that the Danube region, as many other parts of Europe and the world, exposed to climate change, which means that the annual mean temperatures are increasing year after year, and the wet regions are forecast to become wetter, while dry regions are most probably will become drier. And at the same time, excuse me, at the same time, such features like heat waves, dry periods, and heavy rainfalls are becoming more and more intensive and coming with more and more frequency. Just a second. Excuse us for this technical issue. I hope that this time the slides, the moving slides, are visible also on your side. So going back to the needs and challenges, the frequency and severity of environmental disasters are expected to increase, like floods, droughts, forest fires. We see and hear in every year in the news more and more related issues in our region, which also impact the ecosystem, economic sectors, human life, not only on local, but also beyond the borders on transboundary scale. Impacts of one additional topic, which is not necessarily that related to climate change and climate change adaptation, is the accidental pollution of major rivers and disaster management and management of this aspect, which also needs coordinated, in certain cases, it might need coordination on transnational level. And this topic is also connected to this specific project. So, considering these challenges, the specific objective is focusing on certain areas. One of such is to strengthen the cooperation of key actors. That's the basic and general focus, to strengthen cooperation of key actors of a broader transnational area to tackle these challenges. The Danube region scale climate change forecasting and vulnerability assessment is one such focus area. In relation to disaster prevention, preparedness, and response, harmonized, coordinated approaches are to be supported through the program. And in relation to the climate change adaptation and to cope with impacts of the climate change, preparedness and adaptive capacity is to be strengthened, which is supported in this objective. In relation to one important aspect and consideration is that flood and accidental pollution management actions are expected to target the main transboundary rivers or river basins of the Danube region or the Danube River Basin, since the program is not supporting local or national focused activities, but due to the characteristics of the program, in case of such environmental risks are expected to be tackled on a transboundary scale, since that's the scope of the program. The program in general is supporting, let's say, soft measures like improving policies and institutional capacities on a broader scale, territorial scale, like by integrated strategies or policy sectoral dialogues or capacity building through trainings, addressing challenges and cooperation need of a broader area needs also harmonized management processes, like certain contingency plans, for example. But within a project, in order to tackle these challenges, the mentioned challenges, projects can also elaborate and pilot test such joint solutions which contribute to preparedness or contribute to improve the situation in connection to climate change adaptation, like, for example, harmonized or joint monitoring systems, forecasting tools and databases. No. Just
not working, I can share the
as I heard, we have some problem with the slide. So just a second, and we try to fix somehow. Just a second. Dear participants, excuse us for this technical issue. On my screen, I don't exactly see what you see, and I learned that so far on your screen, the slides were not moving. Now we try another solution, and hopefully this will work. At the same time, I would kindly ask you whether you wish to restart the slides. Or we can go on. I mean, what I wanted, I already said. Unfortunately, without visual supporting on your side. So if some on the chat, if some feedbacks we could receive, whether you prefer to restart it or we can go on from that slide where we already were. Okay. Then we will start it again, and I think the best is if we just test with, and we will ask a quick feedback whether the slide is moving on your screen with the support of the colleague. Just a second. So it seems that now it works, and I truly apologize for this problem. Let's get back to the beginning again.
But only, sorry, Lucy, for interrupting you, just to tell you that this presentation will be available.
Yeah, so after we finish this webinar today, the whole webinar will be accessible on YouTube, just like on the website, including also the presentations. So at the end, you will not miss whatever is presented and said today. So once again, I'm sorry, and let's start again with transnational cooperation. So it's an instrument of the EU cohesion policy that is supporting cooperation of projects, but beyond the national level, so beyond the mainstream programs, as well as even beyond the cross-border cooperation level. So the transnational cooperation is addressing a broader geographically defined area, addressing the common challenges and needs relevant in that specific area. In the present case, it's the Danube region, and at the same time, although addressing issues beyond the national level, nonetheless, it is somehow expected that these projects and the program itself is complementing the mainstream programs managed on national level. This cooperation, transnational cooperation, are expected to bring together the policymakers, academia, research, civil society, and private actors in a good mix in order to tackle in an integrated way the challenge identified and to be addressed by the specific project. Can you please go to the next slide? Thank you. Some few words again about the Danube region, which is one of these transnational areas in the EU. The territorial analysis of the program preparation identified the region as the region of barriers, and it is somehow not surprising, since this is the program area, or the Danube region has the highest number of countries within the EU. 14 countries are included and involved in this program and the program area. That also provides the highest number of borders. Beyond that, this huge geographic space has heterogeneous and diverse natural environment, social, economic, and cultural terms. It's also very diverse. And at the same time, also these that many number of countries and that many borders are somehow characterized with very fragmented political and administrative features. I'm sorry, thank you. One other key characteristic of the Danube region is that part of the area is related to the EU. So some partner countries are EU member states, but there are also many non-EU partner states in the program area. And this gives also a great opportunity to support this integration of the space and the accession and neighborhood countries with the help of the EU measures and cohesion policy, as well as the accession and neighborhood policy. Excuse me. The next slide, please. So the webinar of today is focusing on the specific objective that is supported to promote climate change adaptation capacities in the Danube region and disaster management on transnational level in relation to environmental risks, taking into account ecosystem-based approaches. The next slide, please, on which I'm going to repeat once again the territorial specific needs and challenges in a broad term. Concerning climate change, the Danube region is quite much exposed according to the forecasts, as we can also experience nearly each summer, annual mean, and throughout the years, even winter time, annual mean temperatures are rising nearly year after year. But on a longer term, that is also forecasted. Wet regions are predicted to become better, while the dry regions more drier. And the frequency and intensity of heat waves, dry periods, and heavy rainfalls are going to increase. as well as the related environmental disasters like floods and droughts or forest fires are also expected. And as in some areas we experience, these are increasing after some years. All these aspects or all these effects have impact on the ecosystem, the economic sector, and human life of the region, but not only on a local, but even beyond on a broader territorial transboundary scale as well. And that's why this is one of the thematic focus area of the program to address, try to address the issue of climate change adaptation. There is one topic which is not directly related to climate change adaptation. It's more related to disaster preparedness and management of impacts of accidental pollution along major rivers, which, due to the features that such problems and such risks are or can affect neighboring countries. Therefore, this is also identified as an important challenge on a transnational scale that might need and that needs cooperation on this level. Next slide, please. So the program is basically, the main focus is to strengthen cooperation of key actors on transnational scale beyond borders, as I repeated many times. And one thematic scope is related to the Danube region scale climate change forecasting and vulnerability assessment. Another one is to harmonize coordinated disaster prevention, preparedness, and response in relation also to improve the adaptive capacity to cope with the impacts of climate change, as well as an important aspect of the program to consider for potential applicants, that flood and accidental pollution management actions are expected to target the main transboundary river basins. So flood issues or accidental pollutions on local level or territories within the countries or in cross-border areas, neighboring countries, are not expected to apply to a program. But if a partnership intends to target this topic, then a proper partnership shall be built up that is able to address the whole one of the major main transboundary rivers, be it the Danube or I don't know, the Sava River or the Tisa River or the river basin, sub-river basin. This is an important aspect to consider for those who intend to apply to our program. Next slide, please. So, in general, what is supported is more kind of soft type of activities. For example, to improve policies and institutional capacities by integrated strategies or policy sectorial dialogues or trainings for capacity building, harmonizing management processes like, for example, contingency plans of a certain disaster management or emergency response, or elaborating and pilot testing joint solutions, for example, monitoring systems, forecasting tools, databases that can contribute to climate change adaptation or coping with environmental risk-related disasters. what is important is that the projects are expected to have a reasonable mix of activities and a clear thematic focus that is properly related to the respective specific objective. And as I mentioned, it's important that the projects and the partnerships are able to address the challenge in a territorially integrated and in a cross-sectoral approach. Next slide, please. More concretely on the thematic scope of the specific objective, I already mentioned that harmonized climate change modeling, forecasting, and vulnerability assessment on the river basin scale is one focus area. An important aspect here is that these are also should end up with application at policy or operational level. So not only developing models and forecasting tools and so on, but it's an important aspect that these tools shall be integrated within the project by the relevant target groups and actors to be applied on policy or on operational level. Regarding climate change adaptation, one aspect is to integrate important research results and at the same time improving skills and competencies of policymakers and stakeholders. Regarding the flood risk or drought prevention, coordination and harmonized solutions are expected, and nature-based solutions are also preferred if that is possible. Combat flood, drought, or accidental pollution on transboundary river scale or other climate change related disasters would need harmonized planning, monitoring, alert systems, and improving the operational and cooperational capacities of emergency response bodies. And while on EU scale, there is a good disaster management system established. Nonetheless, on a regional scale, it is identified that regional level climate change and environmental risk-related disaster preparedness activities would be still necessary. So this is also one area that can be addressed by the new program. The next slide, please. I think it's also helpful for potential applicants to also understand what is actually not supported by the program. First of all, in a general term, if a proposal is not able to confirm and demonstrate that a topic to be addressed needs a cooperation on transnational level, or the partnership to be established is able to address the issue on transnational level, then the Danube region program is not exactly the instrument you shall address. Regarding the flood and accidental pollution management, I already highlighted that it's an expectation that projects in this thematic field shall focus on the main transboundary rivers or river basins of the area. The program is not supporting projects that are predominantly focused on infrastructure. That's not the characteristic in general of the transnational cooperation programs. I already mentioned what kind of more soft type measures are supported by transnational cooperation. So projects with such infrastructure focus are not going to be supported. It is also not expected that, and partly I already mentioned this as well, that a project is focusing on a technical solution development without application by target users. So, as I mentioned, if a proposal is to elaborate an excellent and innovative flood forecasting monitoring tool, and that's the whole project itself, so it's focusing on a tool, but nothing else, that is not for the Danube region program. It might fit more maybe the Horizon or some other programs, but the expectation of the Danube program is that if such a solution or a tool is developed by a project, then the project itself shall ensure by concrete measures and activities still within the project, including also the key actors and target groups that are going to take up such a tool and going to use it in the future. This is the same. The same stands for projects focusing on research and data collection. If these activities and the outcomes of these activities are not translated into applied solutions or policy strategies identified and elaborated and developed within the project, then such proposal is also not supported by the program. From a thematic point of view, climate change adaptation is a quite broad topic, and in a way it's also a, let's say, a horizontal aspect in the whole program itself. And there are certain thematic fields which are still. Can we go back? Or it's the same slide, just the size changed. Okay, so one climate change related topic, if it is related to water scarcity, like for example addressing issues in connection to low water periods, which can affect the balanced use of water or the quality of water, then projects targeting this topic shall address the specific objective 2.3. It's about water management and sediment management, and the actual webinar will be presented tomorrow, actually. So with this topic, you better turn to specific objective 2.3 and not this 2.2, even if it is climate change adaptation related. Another such thematic field is related to biodiversity. Climate change adaptation and biodiversity affecting habitats or protected areas or forestry are to be addressed by specific objective 2.4. Presentation and webinar comes this Wednesday. So please turn to that specific objective and check the details of that specific objective, since this topic is connected to that area. Then the next slide, please. Some words about the partnership. According to the program rules, there is a minimum requirement that at least 3 financing partners from 3 Danube region program countries shall build the partnership, and actually one of these partners shall come from excuse me, from an EU country. But I would strongly highlight that this is the minimum requirement. A partnership based on 3 partners from 3 countries most probably will not be supported, because that would not have a sufficient, how to say, that cooperation would not be able to ensure that level of territorial impact that is expected by the program. So many applicants are asking how many partners shall be included in a partnership. What is the minimum or what is the maximum? So the minimum is told, but that's only an eligibility criteria. In fact, and on the other side, there is no maximum. Maximum might be, or the limit might be, the capacity of the partnership and the lead partner and the proper management of cooperation. But the key point here is more that if your proposal is trying to address a certain territorial challenge, first of all, the project has to present what area is affected, what area of the Danube region is affected by this territorial challenge, and accordingly, one can understand which countries and which areas of which countries might be affected and which need some joint solution or certain harmonization. This is more or less defining partners from which countries are expected to be involved in such a partnership. And regarding the number of partners, what is important that the partners can ensure appropriate thematic and territorial relevance as well as competence to be able to properly address that topic, which is in the focus of the project, and ensuring transnational level relevant impact by this way. And the mixture of these partners regarding the horizontal or very vertical features, national, regional, local level, or coming from different sectors, would need a coherent mix and also in a balanced way. So it's not expected that too many partners are coming from one country, while even if there are other partners from other 5 countries, but in an unbalanced way, that is not good for a partnership. Another very important aspect of the new program, and this is also part of the assessment of the projects, the integration of non-EU countries, meaning that it's expected that the project partnership includes and involves project partners from non-EU countries. Once again, here one cannot tell how many is actually needed. It depends very much on the topic the project is addressing and the geographical area that it is addressing. So, for example, if a project is dealing with the, let's say, the Mura-Drava river basin area, then regarding non-EU countries, it's only Serbia who is in territorial term relevant. Obviously, in this case, it's expected that there are partners from Serbia. But in case of a project addressing a more general topic that it relates to a broader specific territory, then the better, the higher the number of partners from non-EU countries. Another important new feature of the new program is the funding, which is called Interreg Fund. This is basically integrating the ERDF, the IP, and the ICI funds, the EU, the accession and the neighborhood policy funds in a single pot. And at the same time, this means that finally, partners coming from any Danube region program country will be able to participate on an equal basis, meaning that even partners coming from or entities coming from non-EU countries can be lead partners in the next program or in the projects of the Danube region program. And within the partnership, there will be no more differentiation of ERDF or IPA partners, but there will be only a lead partner and the other financing partner. Next slide, please. Concerning the budget, the total program budget is a bit more than 213 million euro. I already mentioned that it is going to use Interreg funds, a single pot of different policy supports. Another important change is that in comparison to the Danube transnational program, that the EU contribution part will be somewhat lower. Instead of 85 in the new program, it will be only 80%. So 20% of the budget of each partner shall be ensured from own resources. The specific objective that I'm presenting today is part of the Priority 2, for which the total budget is something like 74.5 million euro. And according to the decision of the program bodies, in the first call proposals, 50% of the program budget is planned to be allocated. So can you just please go back a bit? This is more about the general features of the program budget. But regarding the financial issues, I would like to emphasize one important aspect, which is usually an important issue and question on non-EU countries, or even in EU countries for NGO type of potential project partners, that the program is not providing advance payment, which means that project partners participating in a project shall finance their activities, they shall pay their costs, and then the EU contribution part is going to be reimbursed on a periodic basis based on a periodic report. So it's very important to consider for each project partner who intend to take part in such a cooperation that they need sufficient cash flow capacity beyond the thematic expertise and human resources and other technical capacities. It's very important that they are able to finance their activities since the related EU funding and EU contribution they will receive only time after. The next slide, please. I did not prepare very often a question, and understandably one key question for the potential applicants when the first call is going to be launched. I did not prepare a slide on this since there is not yet a concrete decision, a decision on a concrete date. What I can share with you is that it is going to be launched in September, and the call is going to be open for roughly 2 months. So the deadline for submission can be expected around sometime in November. The exact date of the launch of the call will be announced well in advance, well in time. And on this slide, you can see the different resources where you can gain information about the program and then the next call. The new program does not have yet its own website, so information at the moment is available only on the Danube Transnational Program website. Already there you can find general information, the draft program document, and it is expected that sometime in June, most probably in the second half, the document of the next call, or of the first call, the applicant's manual, and then also the template of the application will be available on the website in the second half of June. That's how we estimate at the moment. Another information source can be the Danube region program events, like these chains of webinars you are participating also today. There is going to be a program kickoff event, and in connection to the first call, there will be also a specific lead applicant seminar, also organized in time enough to support and help those who intend to apply. Within the Danube program framework, there are also important other key actors on the Danube program country level, the national contact points, from whom you can also gain important information on the program itself, and especially on the national features, for example, on the how the control system and the validation of the costs are going to take place and what specific national rules are to be followed. In connection to calls for proposals, in almost all countries, these national contact points are organizing national events, info days, supporting the potential applicants from their own country. And of course, there is our team, the MAGS, and from thematic point of view, the responsible project officers, who are also available for bilateral consultations regarding potential applications. With this, of course, you can already turn to us, but I would recommend you first to wait until the details of the applications will be available. So when you will be able to check and read through the applicant's manual, see how the application documentation is, and after that, put together your questions and come to us in case you think it can be helpful to discuss details of a potential application. And from thematic point of view, I would also like to mention that the Danube strategy, with which the program itself has a very strong connection, and the actual project supported by our program supposed to contribute to the strategy itself. The actors of the strategy, the thematic priority areas and the priority area coordinators can also be helpful and important sources of information, helping project teams to properly focus their idea and to establish an appropriate project partnership. With this, the next slide, please. With this, I got to the end of my presentation. Here you can see my contact details, actually. So in case you have a clear idea that you intend to apply with a project proposal to this specific objective, and some information is needed, you can reach me on this email, and then we can discuss the details. And with this, I would hand over the floor back to Mirjana. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Gustav. It was so clear, it was so precise, going straight to the point. And I also believe that even for the newcomers, it was, it was very clear. You gave a lot of practical information, so thank you once again. With the registration, we also received some specific questions, so let's go through them, and then we will go back to your questions posted on slido.com. So, Gusti, are you ready? The first question is, who are the entities eligible for this funding line, and also for the management authorities?
I already mentioned some few words regarding the characteristics of the partnership. From other point of view, within this specific objective, we expect as project partners different levels of national authority, national, regional, or legal authorities, agencies, NGOs, policy actors, but of course also from the academia and research field, there can be important actors, as well as private actors can also be relevant. And from this point of view, if you check the fact sheet already available on the program side, you can find the general characteristics. From a legal point of view, but that's more general, so that is not a specific objective relevant. So there can be public type of entities, then such entities that are based on private law, non-profit, but at the same time even profit-oriented entities can participate, so be project partners. Here the important aspect is that private enterprises can be project partners, but they cannot be lead partners. So this is an important thing to consider. And another thing related to private enterprises, difference compared to the Danube transnational program, that private enterprises coming from any Danube program country can be project partners, so not only from EU countries. And the other part of the question was related to the who are the management authorities. It's I don't fully understand the question itself, but so we are representing the team of the Managing Authority Joint Secretariat. The Managing Authority is responsible for the program itself, and the Joint Secretariat is the implementing body. But actually, we are an integrated team and an integrated body. We are located at Budapest in Hungary, but that's just a characteristic of the program. It does not give any advantage to or disadvantage to any country within the program area. I already referred to the and then there is a decision-making body of the program, or there will be, that is not yet established. That can be established only once the program document is endorsed by the European Commission, which we expect latest by the autumn. Then the so-called monitoring committee of the program will be established, and the monitoring committee has representatives from each program partner country. And on national level, I already mentioned that there are the contact points who are helping and advising potential applicants and project partners, being involved in project implementation. And another important actors are the so-called first level control bodies. I would not like to go too much in details. They are on national level responsible for validating the expenditures of the project partners. So once again, I don't know what the exact meaning of the question was, but I tried to give a quite broad information on this, and I hopefully.
And you covered everything.
I hope that this was appropriate for the one who was raising this.
Thank you, Gusti. So next question is, how many calls for proposals will be there and when?
So as you know, there will be the first call this autumn. Still not fixed when that will be launched. And how many more, and as I also mentioned, it is intended to allocate already half of the program funding to projects within this call. Beyond that, it is not yet decided how many more call for proposal will be launched. Most probably there will be 2 more, but this will depend on many different factors. I would not go into details, but for sure there will be more calls. When these calls come, this at the moment is not yet decided. This again depends on different factors. So in general, most probably there will be some 3 calls for proposals. Maybe there will be more, but this will depend on different issues.
Thank you. Can agricultural themes be financed within this priority?
The Danube regional program in general is not supporting agriculture, the agriculture as a thematic field. There are specific programs supporting and addressing the agriculture, and it's also not that much of not identified that much as a relevant issue on a transnational scale. So I presented within this specific objective what type of thematic areas are to be addressed, and agriculture specifically is not one of these.
Next question, is it available to discuss new approach of circular development utilization in DRP?
The topic of circular economy is can be addressed, but this is not part of not even the environmental priority. Circular economy related topics can be connected to the priority 1 in relation to innovation. So I would recommend the one who was asking this question to check the details of priority 1. There are 2 different specific objectives. Now by heart, I don't remember which exactly the one which is also within which one can focus on circular economy issues. So at least regarding this priority 2 and the specific objective on climate change adaptation and environmental risk and disaster management, this is not the area where the circular economy and circular development issues would be possible to tackle.
So here comes the long one. Into which specific objective a project can fit if it intends to explore nature-based water management and restoration solutions along urban waterfronts to reconnect local citizens with their river, as well as for climate change adaptation and sustainability.
A very specific question. From the specific objective point to consider, and in general, the one important expectation of the program that projects which are targeting a certain specific objective are expected to have an appropriate focus. So if a project intends to address this specific objective, then the proposal shall and its thematic focus shall be, the thematic scope shall be focused on climate change adaptation or environmental risk management. And from this point of view, reconnection of riparian areas of urban spaces is not really so based on this basic description, it's not very clear what is the actual focus of the project, would be the actual focus of such a project, how much it's actually really focusing on climate change adaptation or not. This is one aspect. Another aspect is the expected transnational impact. It's important to consider that projects focusing on urban areas, first of all, such project would need to demonstrate and justify what is the actual need to cooperate on transnational level. Why solutions cannot be found on a national or territorial level. What is the actual need that make necessary and that can have real added value to cooperate, to harmonize on transnational scale. So this is another aspect of this description, what I want to highlight. So at the moment, I would not be able to give a concrete advice on this. I can recommend the one who were posing this question to maybe address me more directly, and then we can go more into details and better understand what they have in mind, and then to be able to decide how much that would actually fit or not the program or this specific objective or whichever specific objective of the program.
Thank you very much. The next question is proposal focusing on reviving daily use of bicycle and building cycle path as contribution to climate change adaptation, fitting Danube region program.
Another specific question. First of all, to my understanding, the promotion of using bicycle as a environmentally responsible transport mean and mode that might have, let's say, more contribution to climate change mitigation, so reducing by not using, I don't know, cars or other more polluting transport means, that is more closer to climate change mitigation, which is however not in the focus of this specific objective. This specific objective is about climate change adaptation. So how certain areas, certain fields and thematic policy fields of the Danube region can adapt and to cope with the future impacts of the climate change, and not how to mitigate the impacts of future impacts of climate change. This is one aspect, and then the other one is I also mentioned that infrastructure and things are not really in the focus of the program. So cycling path building definitely would not fit. Cycling passes can be established also by signposting, and so that might fit, but not this specific objective.
Is the program funding purchase of assets and laboratory equipment?
Yeah. Okay. So projects can purchase equipment, but equipment must be necessary for the implementation of the project. So in general, projects are not expected to focus on this. I did not highlight, but just like in case of investment, the program or the projects are not expected to focus on purchasing equipment or furniture and so on. But these equipment can be eligible in case the project, the whole project, and in the work plan and the details of the project make clear that for the successful implementation of the respective activities and the achievement of project outputs, certain equipment is needed. Those equipment can be eligible, but of course, this equipment cannot dominate either the project itself, not neither the budget nor the project activity.
Thank you, Gusti. And now let's move to the questions posted on slido.com. So here comes the first one. Will project partners have any part of the budget in advance before any costs made at the beginning of the project? Any budget specification target regarding percentage of the budget for the staff expenditure like salaries and similar?
On the slide of talking about the budget, I listed and I also highlighted that the program is not providing advance payment. So each activity of the project partners shall be financed first by the project partner. They carry out their activities, they pay the salary of their staff, they pay for their travel costs, they might buy for some research things, they might need some laboratory equipment, as mentioned. So first they pay for this, and once these are on a periodic basis, which is a half-year period, the project partners will be expected to prepare their activity reports, and in connection to these activities, they will have to list their costs with details and so on, invoices and so on. And based on that, the program, once the report is accepted and the cost validated by the program, then those will be reimbursed. This will, due to the complexity of the program management and so on, this takes time. And that's why I emphasized that each project partner has to prepare for this with proper financial cash flow to be able to pre-finance from their side or finance their side the activities, since the program support comes only in a periodic basis only at a later stage. So shortly, there is no any advance payment from the program side to the project. And regarding the level of staff costs, I cannot give you any concrete. There is no average percentage, or everything depends on the characteristic of the project partner. Of course, the expectation of the program is that if an entity is joining a project, if an organization is a project partner, that is financially contributing to the project implementation, then they are there because this organization is relevant. They have a relevant knowledge, expertise, and capacities to implement and contribute to the successful achievement of the project. And this means that in most cases, this is based on the expertise of their own staff. But of course, there can be occasions that a project partner is a municipality, for example, who has the key policy responsibility, but this needs also thematic contributions from external capacities. So they will have to subcontract certain experts to carry out certain analysis or whatever, which means that then such type of partner might need more external expertise budget than staff costs. So an exact clear answer cannot be given on this. Everything is depending on the type of partner, the type of activities to be carried out.
Thank you. So let's move to another one. There are quite some questions, but we are still experiencing the technical problems. Yeah, okay. So no, okay, but while waiting for the problems to be solved, I would only like to highlight that you can always check approved project on DTP website, and there you will find examples of the projects that are financed. So please do it and get some inspiration, check what is the partnership. It's very useful. And once again, please do contact in case you have any question regarding eligibility of your organization or something else. The national contact points in your countries, they're very helpful and very willing to assist you. So thank you. Can we see the next question, please? Or can we? It's not, yeah. Okay. Okay, let's go down, please. Go down. Go down still. Down. So I see many questions here. Yes, it will be available, as Gusti said. Okay, here is the one. Republic of Moldova is eligible.
Yeah, Republic of Moldova is one of the partner states of the Danube region. So partners coming from this country, which fulfill the eligibility criteria. These criteria, details of these criteria, you will be able to read in the applicant's manual. Then those can take part in projects. As I also mentioned, they might even be lead partners in the new program. I mean, partners coming from this country.
And the next one, is there a national contribution co-financing like in the previous program period?
This is a national issue. So with this is one issue, and this is one question with which you shall turn to your national contact point of the program, who are able to tell. In some countries, it might already be decided. In others, it might still be under preparation or in planning. Nonetheless, it's not the program level, but it's the national level who can give you exact information on this regarding your country and the specific support.
Then the next question is, when is the first reporting period after 3 or 6 months? When can we expect the first reimbursement of the money? Is it national contribution? Is national contribution possible? How many percentage? But the last part of the question, I think that you just replied.
The standard reporting period is a 6-month based, which depending on when the project start is it the first and the last periods might have shorter timing, but the usual period is half a year, and then let's say when the first reimbursement. So after that, it takes usually another. So first of all, usually there are 3 months. Once the period is over, there is about 3 months until project partner level and then project level reporting and cost validation is made. And then the report is submitted to the managing authority joint secretariat. And depending on the quality of the report, it takes usually another 2-3 months until the report is concluded, and then the related reimbursement of the program support can be transferred to the lead partner.
Thank you. So there is a comment made by our colleague Katalin Kovac-Kasa. The specific objective 1.1 is focusing on circular economy. There was a question regarding this topic, so thank you, Kata. This one you already answered, is the same one. Let's go down. Okay.
In a second, there will be a technical solution that we will also be able to see font size enough the Slido questions. Until that, I would like to go back to that issue what was already raised by Mirjana, that you are strongly recommended to have a look on the projects implemented in the frame of the Danube Transnational Program, based on which you can learn many things, how the partnerships are established, what kind of partners are involved, how big are these partnerships, and so on. But another important aspect is to learn projects on which topic have already been implemented, what kind of outputs are created, since obviously in the new program we are not expecting repetition of similar projects, or on the other hand, we expect that what has already been done is capitalized by the new corporations and bring added value to this. Therefore, it's important to be aware what has already been done in the region, especially on transnational scale, for which one important contribution can be to cross-check thoroughly the projects, at least in the respective thematic field that has been implemented by or within the Danube Transnational Program, but there might be also other important ones completed in other by other instruments or other even other transnational programs like Central Europe or so. And then let's go back to your questions.
There is one. I understand the EU funding is 80%. Will there be national co-financing like in the last program period? How many calls for proposals will there be? I think it's already answered. Yes, we covered it. So can we have a link to the new call for funding? Thank you. At the moment, we don't have that link because none of the documents was published, but when we publish the document, so you will be informed. It will be widely promoted in all our social media, So please follow us closely and you won't miss it, definitely.
And as I also mentioned, this can be expected sometime in the second half of June. I mean, the documentation of the first call published on the program website.
So stay tuned. We would like to involve in a project a company from non-EU member country as an external expert. How can we arrange it?
In general, project partners shall come from the program area. So this is not the way. And in case for certain thematic contributions, for certain expertise, a project partner might need subcontract. So another way is to subcontract expertise to elaborate something that is needed. But in this case, the respective organization shall follow public procurement rules on EU level, program level, and the national level. So this is also not a sort of direct way to specifically subcontract an expert, a concrete expert, but subcontracting is based on public procurement. So it's not there is not a direct solution for your question, since, as I mentioned, such entities cannot be project partners and cannot be financially supported by the program.
Is there national contribution co-financing like in the previous program periods? Answered.
Similar question.
Yes, let's move on. When will... Okay, that's it. Can Ukraine participate?
That's a tricky question. In general, Ukraine is part of the program area, especially the 4 counties on the. But at the same time, entities coming from other parts of Ukraine, if their contribution is relevant for the project, will be eligible. But the problem now is the unfortunate circumstances, the ongoing war, and due to the emergency and martial law state in the country, for the moment it seems that Ukrainian partners, it's quite questionable how much they will be able to participate in the first call for proposal. So in general, they are eligible, but regarding the first call, this is not yet clear, and at the present state, I would say, unfortunately, they are not. But let's hope that the situation will improve and peace will settle, and we will see at the stage of application what is the situation and what is the confirmation of the partner state representatives, based on which this will be decided at a later stage.
And then the whole territory of Ukraine is eligible. So let's hope that peace is coming soon. Are the disaster types mainly flooding and pollution?
It's so related to, well, here what has to consider is the transnational impact, and from that point of view, things related to transnational rivers like floods and accidental pollution, these are quite obvious that this might have strong impact from upstream to downstream, and therefore transnational cooperation is very much needed. Regarding environmental risks, drought issue can be also considered for example, forest fires. But in case of any of these kind of disasters, one shall consider and prove and demonstrate the need for transnational cooperation. But this relates also to coping with the impacts of climate change. On the other hand, for example, it is not foreseen that since, for example, civil protection is dealing with also with accidents or that kind of things, which does not really have transnational impact or real need to cooperate on a broader scale. Or also the program is not focusing, for example, on humanitarian disasters. Again, here what can fit and what might fit is that is connected to climate change adaptation and environmental risks that has transnational impact, or proving that transnational cooperation is needed and that has an added value to cope with such disasters. And again, not enough to be on cross-border level, but to be on a broader territorial level, so covering a broader area, more countries, and not only on a bilateral level.
Thank you, Gustav. Yes, Republic of Moldova is eligible. Do you mean no advance payment will be received? This is a major disadvantage, as many institutions do not provide such cash flow without advance payment.
We are aware that this is a serious issue, especially in non-EU countries where the pre-accession funds or the neighborhood funding was providing pre-financing. But the Danube region program is based on the ERDF regulation and the cohesion policy regulations, in which there is no advance payment, and that's what applies. As well as the funds are integrated, therefore the program rules are following the cohesion policy and the ERDF regulations. And unfortunately, for such entities, as I mentioned already, there is no advance payment.
Thank you. Are NGOs registered in private interest eligible for participation?
I mentioned that entities established on a private law can also be eligible, be it non-profit, but even private enterprises can be. Going back to your question, an NGO established on private law, most probably a non-profit organization, can be eligible. Concrete eligibility questions, actually the organizations are proposed to or recommended to contact the national contact points, because also for the applications and the partnerships, partners' eligibility will be cross-examined by the national contact point. So if you might have doubts, please contact the national contact point in your country, and you can clarify this issue better and more concretely with them. But in general, NGOs based on private law can be eligible.
Thank you. Can we have partners outside the DTP area, for example, from France?
Project partners, financing partners, not, as I already mentioned. However, there is another type of kind of partner, what we call associated strategic partners. These are not financing partners. These are such entities whose expertise or competencies are relevant for can be relevant for the successful implementation of the project. Like, for example, a ministry from a certain country can ensure a policy, strong policy support, but one can assume that a ministry would not take part on a daily basis in the project implementation. So such entity can be involved in the project as an associated strategic partner. This stands, an associated strategic partner can come from any EU member state, even from France, provided that it is proved that that entity is really necessary for the successful implementation of the project, and they have the proper and important relevance in the context of the partnership and the project. And then one thing to better understand what is an ASP. So they don't have their own project budget in the program, but one of the financing partners shall kind of support the participation of the ASP, meaning that the travel and accommodation costs of such organizations can be covered by a financing partner to ensure that these organizations can participate in project events but that is limited only to travel and accommodation. So no any expert fee, no any staff cost and so on.
Are the states covering the 20% contribution, or it should be covered by the institutions? Similar questions we had.
Yeah, that has already answered. It depends from country to country. We are not fully aware of the decision of the partner states, so please contact your national contact point of the program in your country who can have more concrete information on this question.
We have not seen all the slides. From the first, you skip to fifth, and from the fifth to the seventh. All the slides will be available. We do apologize for the technical problems, but we did our best to overcome. But yes, it will be available on the website and our social media, so please follow it. Can Ukrainian participate as ESP then?
Yeah, I don't remember what exactly I said. For sure, I mentioned that ESPs can be EU member states, even beyond the program area, while from non-EU countries, those are coming from the program area, plus the whole territory of Ukraine can be eligible as ASP. So basically, Ukrainian entity can be an ASP if their relevance is proved.
So once again, sorry if you have problems, technical problems, if you don't hear us, but I hope that well, we got one objection. So once again, it will be available on our website. So I do hope there it won't be any problem, so you can hear properly. So shall we move to another question, if there is any, or that's all? You answered all the questions?
As far as I saw, all the other comments are related to our technical problems, for which we are very much apologizing.
Yes, sorry.
Sorry for that, and we hope that if you might have, I mean, I try to repeat once again, basically the core messages and the slides as well, which if you might still miss something, you can go back to the recorded video and then cross-check it once again, and this will be available soon on the program website.
So shall we close the session?
There are no more questions.
No, it seems no more questions. So thank you, Gustav. Thank you very much. It was very nice. And yeah, so please, we wish you all the best and see you soon.
All the best, and then please follow also in case you are interested in the other thematic webinars in the following days. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.